everyone, Julia here from The Art of Creating, and I am again on the Crafty Maven Getaway channel for the Art Party Friday. This is the inspiration piece that I'm working with today, and what I wanted to do is grab my stencil, which is the Birch's stencil. It is called Birch Trees and it is by Memory Box. So I wanted to use that because there were some silver birch trees on the inspiration piece. And because the stencil is kind of like a negative space stencil, I have sprayed it with my spray ink onto a scrap piece of paper. And I've used it as a stamp and stamped the actual birch trees images onto my paper. To prep my paper, I have cut it down a little bit because I want to add it to a border, and I have used clear gesso to add it to the paper because the paper is from the paper pad, so it's not very thick and it's not really meant to have a lot of mixed media on top of it. So the papers I'm using for this project are mainly from Crate Paper. They're just a combination of all the collections by Crate Paper. So there's some Maggie Holmes, there's some papers from Shine collection, from Bloom. Some embellishments are from the older collections by Crate Paper as well. And for this stenciling, I am using Shimmer's Textures, which is a texture paste, and it's the gritty style. They've got a couple of different types of modeling or texture paste. It's kind of all the same thing. They're just different thicknesses, different styles. Some are smooth. This one is very textured. It's kind of gritty consistency, and I wanted to use it for the bricks. For this one, it's a stencil by TCW, and it's called Bricks, and these are the small ones. I think they are 6x6 size stencils. So I'm using some of the leftover texture paste that I had left on my palette knife, and I didn't want to waste it, so I've just added it to my scrap of paper that I used earlier, and I'm going to use it probably for art journal or something like that in the future. Now I'm using the same spray ink I've used for my birch trees, and I'm adding it with a paintbrush to the crevices in between the bricks. So if you wet your paintbrush and just add it to those crevices, the ink is actually going to run in between and spread itself out. It just adds a little bit of shade or shadow behind those bricks and just makes them look a little bit more dimensional and actually makes them stand out a lot better as well. So I'm going over a few areas a few times, just adding the color to it in some areas to make it darker, and just going through and adding my ink. This is Tattered Angels ink, and I can't remember the color, but it's a chalk finish. It's an ink I've had for a long time, and it's just some sort of a black with shimmer in it. Then I'm just doing some splattering on it, and you can see because the paper is gessoed, it's not actually warping it too much. And once it was all nice and dry, I am ready to add my paper layers. So I'm going through my scraps of various Crate Paper collections, just adding them. If they look good, just stick them down, add the colors, add the different shapes. You can see this one, it was like an L-shaped scrap of paper, and I've just added it because it just grounds it a little bit and then just adds a space for my embellishment cluster. This paper was really cute. I wanted to use it because the picture of me and my mum, that was when I was really little. My picture is in the woods, and the pattern on the paper had a little deer in it although you can't really tell what the pattern is because I've used a skinny border around my photo, but I just really liked how it looked, so I've added it in. Now I want to add a pop of color just to add a bit more interest and add a few colors from the inspiration piece to it as well. So I've added a bit of bright pink and also a bit of yellow, and I really like yellow and grey combination. I just always like how they look next to each other. So I've added a little bit of color just to, I guess, start off my cluster areas. So I will have one cluster to the left of the photo and one to the bottom right. Once I was happy with the amount of layers I've had, I glued everything down, and I wanted to put my title on just before I started adding my embellishments to make sure that I've got enough room for everything. I've added Queen in one type of letter, and I didn't have anything suitable for the words off and the, and I've just used my stamps with Brilliant's Moonlit White ink to stamp directly onto the photo. Then I've added some grey letters at the bottom for the word rock, and my whole title actually fit onto my photo space, basically just using the negative space in the photo, which wasn't really showing anything of interest, and I've just added my title to that so that I can then focus onto my embellishments on the rest of the page. I really wanted to see quite a bit of that brick and the birch trees in the background, so I didn't want to cover those up. When I saw the inspiration piece, I was drawn to the pictures of those flowers, which they reminded me a lot of the cabochons that I had in my stash, especially the colors of them as well. So I've used a few of them on the page, as you can see here, and I've added also a few other stickers and puffy stickers and other embellishments from the Crate paper collection. And also I will be adding quite a few sequins just from a variety of places. A lot of them I think I've gotten from Studio Calico from a long time ago, and I've just got them sitting on my desk so I remember to use them, and they just seem to be matching the papers and embellishments that I'm sort of trying to use up at the moment, so they worked quite well. Basically just going through my sticker sheets and embellishment packs and adding them to the page. If something looks good and it's the right color, I will stick it down, not thinking too much about it. What I try to do is spread the color into my clusters so that it would all match. In other words, if I want to add an embellishment which is yellow, I want to add something yellow in the second cluster as well. If I have something orange, I go and add the orange into the other cluster. If I have a flower of something, I will also want to match it up on the other side as well. And that just sort of draws your eye from one cluster to another, which goes across the photo, meaning that the photo is what you notice. So I was happy with the placement of my embellishments. So I've glued everything down that wasn't sticky back already, like for example the letter stickers. I find that chipboard letter stickers don't stick very well, so you have to add extra glue to them as well. Spreading some sequins of different sizes and different colors across the page. Adding my journaling. This is probably the most journaling I've ever done on a 12x12 layout. So as I started writing, I just kept writing, and when I was finished with it, it didn't look right by itself, so I decided to add a third cluster as well. I've just added a few more embellishments from those sticker sheets and the puffy stickers, and another cabochon, which I will later on take off as it just looked a little bit too bulky and too heavy down the bottom. So I will end up with 4 clusters, 2 large clusters going across the photo, which is the original ones I started with, a little cluster down the bottom where my journaling is, and another little one up the top. You can see I've added a little crown up the top there as well, as I've found it later, and here are some close-ups of my background, my clusters, my embellishments. If you want to see those a little bit closer up, I will have them on my blog as well. All the links are in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed it, and give me a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.